Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to week 2. So, how's everyone's last week going? Have you joined a group? Yeah, have you started practicing Git? Yes? How do you feel about Git so far? All good? Still a little bit confused? If you feel like you know what it is for and how to use it, basically, that's pretty good. It's really good, actually, because you have just practiced Git for only 1 week, and it's something that's very new for everyone. So it's very, very normal. If you are still a little bit confused and not sure how to use it exactly, no problem at all. So we'll continue practicing it throughout the next few weeks. So you still have time practicing it. But the first lab, the lab-git, that one is really, really important, although it's not marked. So although it doesn't come marked like in that sense of importance, but it's very, very important for your whole project. So every single step, every single contribution that you make to your group project will be using Git. Like everything, it's like how we submit our work. Like in industry, we don't submit our work by uploading a file to Moodle, right? Or through like CSE Git. So this is something specific at the uni. But in real life, how you submit your work using Git. So this is how you submit. So you will be using it throughout the term. So if you feel like you're not that confident in it yet, continue working on Git using that lab activity. Okay? And I'll also like to thank everyone for your feedback from last week, especially those who are saying that my lecture is good. I'm super happy about that. Another thing is, another feedback that I got from, not students, but tutors, like collectively feedback from the tutors is that for students who are using Windows system, like struggle a little bit about setting up. So I've provided a new guide for setting up, especially for those who are using Windows system. So if you struggled with setting up Git, here's a new guide for you. I'll send this link in today's newsletter. So every week after the lecture, I'll send a newsletter about an important notice for the week. So I'll also put this link in that notice, in that week newsletter. So before your lab this week, make sure that you have set up, you know what Git is and how to use Git. Okay, this is one thing. The other one, before we start the content. Yep, so here I updated the lecture and resources page. You can find that page here on the course website as well. So for each week, I have the topics here already. I will upload the slides before the lecture. I have already put all the live stream link for all the weeks here, and I will also upload the other resources that is relevant for that week. So for example, week 1, here are the topic, here are the slides, here are the recording. As we mentioned earlier that we will have 2 recordings. They are exactly the same, but one is on YouTube, one is on SharePoint. Choose the one that you prefer, but the contents is the same. And these are the resources that are relevant for week 1. This is the Git practice. It's on course website as well. It tells you how to write good commits and how to make good quality merge requests. It's on course website. Please have a look at that if you haven't realized it is there. Another important resource for week 1 is the lab activity about Git. Okay, so for today, this week, what we are going to talk about. So we'll talk a little bit more about Agile. So last week, I gave a very brief overview about what Agile is. But today, I'm going to expand a little bit more on what is Agile, why Agile, and how to be Agile. Here are the slides already there. Other than that, I'll also talk about the project. So you may have already realized the project spec is already on the course website, and you may also have noticed that there's a starter code in your personal GitLab repo. So today I'm going to walk through the guideline for Sprint 1 and also the starter code, and also tell about the expectation for Sprint 1. So this is the plan for today. There are other resources that you can have a look after the lecture. Now you may not know what stand-up is, but after the lecture you will know. And here's the Sprint 1 guideline, setting up guide, teamwork contract, and help sessions. Okay, talking about help sessions. So starting from this week, we are going to have help sessions. So help sessions are drop-in sessions that you can get some help on your course content on your project, any course-related things. Here's the course schedule, help session schedule. So you may notice that we have a lot of help sessions throughout the weeks, but they are all in person because the course is in person only. It's not hybrid course. So all the help sessions also in person as well. If you have any questions, if you are stuck at any stage, any day, feel free to drop into any of these help sessions and find one of the tutors there. Okay, so they are basically at the end of all the lab sessions. So after your tutors finishing helping your groups, like all the groups in the class, there are no more questions, and then we welcome students from other classes to drop in and ask questions as well. But the tutors will prioritize answering questions from their class. But we don't think there's that many questions. So feel free to join at the tail of the lab sessions, and the schedules, their locations, and the tutors. If you have any preferred tutors, join that class, no problem. Okay, so let's come back to the content for today, which is, first of all, the Agile software team practice. So why do we need to learn this? So it explains why Agile. So last week we explained very briefly Agile, the terminology, but why Agile and how it helps software team develop real value in complex, uncertain projects. And the why is complex, why is uncertain. So we will talk about that as well. More specifically, why, how. So this is the structure of all lectures basically. So we will explain why that is important and how we can do it, okay? So what's your understanding about Agile, like coming from last lecture? Very high level, very general, still confused? Any thoughts? Any guess? Yep.
Yeah, just people development
Uh-huh.
very small and
Uh-huh.
small times and
Uh-huh.
to ensure they
Uh-huh.
don't excel.
Uh-huh. Yep, so people put their project, large project into small slots. Yeah, and then iterate to make sure that it brings some value.
Yeah.
Can sell in your term. Yeah, that's right. So that's one key principle of Agile, but it is actually more than that. Any other thoughts about Agile? It's a modern approach. It's more flexible. There's no strict rules for it. Yep, so there are some rules actually, but yes, it's not as strict as waterfall. Yeah, we will talk about that today as well. Any other thoughts about Agile? It's not that strict on documentation.
Yeah, they're not glued to what the document says rather than flexible about changes and other stuff that comes.
Yeah, they prefer more flexibility. Yeah, like startup. Yeah, that's all correct, perfect. But it's actually more than that. So today I'm going to explain what is Agile. Okay, some people may also heard about some terms like sprints, maybe from our project, right? Some people may also heard about Scrum Master. These are all some terminologies coming from Agile, but Agile is more than that. So where did Agile actually coming from? So a little bit history, not too much. In the 1990s, so there's software development, the world of software development was described as a software crisis. Have you heard about that, the crisis? No? Yeah, so at that time, our school also struggled a lot. So what happened at that time? So nearly 1/3 of the project, the software project, were canceled. Many were late, over budget, or under-delivered. So people were saying, your software is not good enough. Like, you spent too much money, or you spent too long delivering that, or the quality is not good. Like people are saying that this project are not good enough, or they don't need it anymore, so they canceled it. So to get control, to make sure that people going through this crisis, organizations responded with some strategies. So for example, adding more documentations. Like the projects are not successful, maybe because it's not enough documentations, like people are not following the rules. People are saying like, let's add more sign-offs, like the managers signing off and saying, okay, let's go on to the next stage. Or people are saying, let's add more control, like quality control. Is cancelled, is it because the quality is not good? Let's add more quality control. At the first sight, like, makes sense, right? Other people may say defining more rigid phase-based project. And this project, this kind of response, people describe it as waterfall or phase gate development. So this is actually the process that we discussed last week. We say that a software project starts from understanding the requirements, like understanding what the customers needs. And then when it's done, we get all the requirements, we move on to the next stage, which is designing like how many rooms in that house, like how many toilets, and then actually coding it, and then testing it, and then making sure that it's available to use for users, and then maintain it. So there are a lot of stages and phases, and they are very strict. There are a lot of very strict rules, like when you can move on to the next phase. So this is the waterfall development. So this is like when project fails, the solution was add more process. Did it work? No, unfortunately, no. Although it sounds like all makes sense, right? Like for some engineering process, like following the process, having documentations, it makes a lot of sense. But for software engineering, for software projects, for that software crisis, this response, this solution didn't work. So some developers, they came together and say, like, how do we solve this problem? Like, we need to move on. If this solution doesn't work, we need another solution. So they came up with this new idea, and it's called the Agile Manifesto. Sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it has a few core values to Agile. It emphasizes more about individual and interaction over the process and tools. It emphasizes more about working software over comprehensive documentation, emphasize customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and emphasize responding to change over following a plan. So this is completely different from the previous solution. And it worked. Right? Surprise, surprise. So these are the core value of Agile. You may notice, well, this is not a process, right? It's also not a methodology. It's a value, like it's a value of how we develop software. And also it doesn't mean that the values on the right-hand side they are not important, so it's not true. So they are still important. So there are still some process and tools, there are still documentation, still a plan, but they emphasize the left-hand side more than the right-hand side. So what are they? Why is it important? So why do you think the waterfall model didn't work, but this new Agile works? Why? Huh?
There was less bureaucracy.
Less bureaucracy. Why?
Because you don't have a lot of sign-offs and more responsibility. So they don't need to get approvals from a lot of managers.
Yeah, so there's not that much sign-offs anymore, and they do not need to get approvals from like managers. Yeah, so it saves some time. That's right. But like review is still important. But like people share the responsibility, right? Like it's not only the managers taking the responsibility, but everyone takes the responsibility. Any other idea like why this works? Why the traditional, like the most logistic way didn't work? Sorry? More rigid? Which one is more rigid? the other one, why more rigid didn't work? Like, and it's an engineering project, right? It sounds very weird, right? Any other thoughts about why this works, but the waterfall model?
They can give the customer feedback
Uh-huh.
in their process, and they can ensure their work is valid.
Yeah, so that's a very important thing. So what they just mentioned is that it emphasizes more about feedback. Like the feedback is a very important thing here. So feedback is from the customer, from the actual users who are going to use the software project, not the feedback from the managers who thought they understand the customers, the users. In reality, like the developer team, even the manager, they may not really understand the user's need. So they thought they understand the user need, they thought this is the correct direction, like I'm really professional, I'm very experienced software development, like I'm right, but in reality, a lot of the time the managers, they don't really understand the user's need. So who understands the user's needs the most? The users, right? Like who are actually going to use it. So emphasizing customer collaboration is very important, like contract. So where does contract coming from? It's coming from at the beginning when the software developers and the client and the manager, they come together and they negotiate a contract. It's setting up at the beginning. But things may change. This contract may not reflect the real user's needs. Any other thoughts about why Agile works?
Work in Agile is more parallel to everything, but then in like waterfall you follow step by step, so you can't really go back. In Agile you can go back and change things.
Yeah, so you are actually mentioning about this one. So responding to change. So why there's always change? Change is everywhere in software development, software management, all the time. And this change coming from a lot of different resources. So this change may coming from, well, the one that we mentioned earlier, like they didn't really understand the user's needs at the beginning. So later on they may notice, well, this feature is not that important, right? But another feature that we ignored at the beginning is more important. So we need to reflect to that change as soon as possible, rather than sticking to that contract at the beginning. So these are the change. Other change may be like the world is changing so fast, right? Especially nowadays with AI, like every day is changing. So people's needs may change. So even though at the beginning we understand the user's needs perfectly, like this feature is real, indeed important at that stage. But after 6 months, they changed. So we need to respond to that change, right? And other changes including, for example, the people's change. So people in your team changed. Like you may have a very good people, a team member, a member in your team who is very good at coding, and they are helping with everything about coding in your product, but they left. How can we do that? Or there's some people new joining, they may bring in new skills. How do we respond to that change? So the contract at the beginning, it doesn't work anymore. So Agile emphasizes more about responding to those changes as soon as possible, rather than sticking to the contract and sign off, going back to the managers. Can you approve this, please? No, so everyone is a manager in an Agile world, okay? Yeah, how about this one? Working software over comprehensive documentation. Why is this important? Why does this principle make Agile work? Do you like documentation, by the way? No one likes it. And it's very time consuming, right? So rather than emphasizing too much about those documentation, let's emphasize more about bringing real value to the customers. Will the documentation bring value to the customer? No, right? So Agile emphasizes more about let's do something that can bring real value to the customers, to the user. So it works, right? And here, individual-centered interactions over process and tools. So in Agile, in the values of Agile, people is the center of everything. So people means not only the customers, the managers, but everyone on the team. So how do we collaborate? People is very different, right? All the groups are different. No matter whether it's in this course or industry or any startup, the people are different. So you need to do something that is more suitable. It's the most suitable for those people. So every group may have their different preferences, skills, way of working, way of collaborating. So you need to figure out a way that suits the best for your group. And people is more important than those tools and process, anything. So if you have the most fancy tools in the whole wide world, but people doesn't use it, or like the tool doesn't fit for those people, it's not like good, right? So people is the core of everything. But still, there are still tools and process that can help the people, help the process. So it doesn't mean that we don't use any tools, we don't follow any process. That's not the case. It's still important, but there's something more important. Okay, so does that mean that we don't need any documentation? We still need some documentation, right? So for example, some code, some how to run your code. So these are basic documentations that we still need. So this documentation are important, for example, when you have new members join your group. This documentation can be very important, very helpful for them to get started on the project as soon as possible. Right? So we still need documentation, but it's just something more important. Again, contract negotiation plan. Plan is still important, like still engineering project, right? So we still need plan, but we do not need to stick to that plan. Like the plan can be changed as well, okay? Cool, so here are the values of Agile. So you may notice that there's no unified Agile method. So people are saying like Agile process, Agile method, but in reality, there's no single Agile method, or there's no single only true Agile process. So Agile is mainly some values, some principles, you can also say it's a philosophy. Right? It's not a tool, it's not a checklist, not a framework, or not something that you can actually do. You can practice Agile, you can follow those Agile values, principles, but you cannot do Agile, or there's no Agile methodologies. So Agile is a philosophy, it's a way of thinking about software development. So you may think, wow, this is so hard. Right? There's no process for me to follow. There's no methodology, even no framework. Like, how can I practice Agile? Like, what is Agile? It's a philosophy. It's so hard for me to do in this project. But we can try our best, and we can practice. And there are actually some like starting point that we can follow, and I will explain the hows later. But before that, to summarize what is Agile, there are two key principles, should I call it principles? So Agile development is adaptive rather than predictive, and people-oriented rather than process-oriented. I think you have already summarized and explained why those are the case very good, but here I'm just summarizing here again. Why adaptive rather than predictive? So why the traditional one failed? Because in the traditional one, it says that if you follow the plan, you success. But if you don't follow the plan, you're failure. But the plan may be not true, right? Plan may need to be changed. So this predictive mindset doesn't work. But Agile is more flexible. So emphasizing more about delivering value, not conforming to a plan. So we don't ask, did we follow the plan? We ask, did we deliver value? So the second principle is people-oriented rather than process-oriented. So people are the most important factor in software success. So talking about this one, like people are the most important factor in software success. So what do you think make the most successful team or group? Like we are saying that people are important, right? Like what kind of people or what kind of group may have a better chance to be successful, like delivering the best value at the end?
And they work together.
They work together. They collaborate together. Yes, what else? They contribute based on their skills. Great. So I'm so glad that you are not saying that they are all genius. Like different people bring different skills and what they want to learn into each group. So a diverse team has the best chance to be successful, rather than a group of people who are all experts in coding or all experts in like customer experience or other things. Like we need to have diverse skills. We need to contribute something different to the team. And people need to be eager to collaborate with each other. We will talk more about that later. Okay, so here, what is important? Not just their skills, but how well they collaborate. Oh, psychological safety. Have you heard about psychological safety before? So Google, Amazon, a lot of these big tech companies nowadays, they talk a lot about psychological safety. So what it actually means is that people feel safe to speak up. So for example, if you have any concern about the plan, speak up. Like tell your group members like you have some concern, rather than just keep silent and thinking, oh, I'm not the most smart people in the team. They must have made the most smartest decision on the plan. So if you have anything, any concern, you have any idea, a good team should enable every group member to speak up and feel safe. So psychological safety is very important. Because different people bring different expertise and skills and experience, background, very different things to the team. So if you are not the expert, the most smart people in the team on coding, you may have other things that you are better at, right, other than people. So everyone should feel safe to speak up. So to enable this psychological safety in groups, people should encourage people to speak up. Right? When people are saying and talking about their concerns, group members need to be patient and listening so that you can create an environment that has this psychological safety so that other people can feel safe to speak up. So this is very, very important in group success. If you just say, oh, I'm the smartest people, everyone listen to me. So it not only, it's very discouraging, right? Like people will feel like, oh, I'm not contributing, or I can't contribute. So you'll be working alone, right? And you only have one skill set. Most people cannot be like, I'm perfect in this one, I'm perfect in that skill. Like nobody can do that, right? So collaboration. Okay, motivation, communication, and trust. What do you think we mean by communication here? Speaking up, yeah, that's one aspect of that. Another thing? Communication frequently and regularly. All right? Make sure everyone's on the same page. Perfect. Anything else? I think this is actually relevant or related to this psychological safety, right? Like the course has 10 weeks, and it's okay if there's a couple of days you are just not feeling well, or you are not seeing any progress. It's okay. Just communicate to your team members, seek help from each other, and support each other, right? Communication, be transparent. Just not holding back. Like if you are stuck at any point, tell your team members, people can help, right? Otherwise, people don't know you are stuck there, right? And people are assuming that you are working towards the feature or whatever. And then at the due date, you suddenly tell your group member, say, oh, I stuck there for 1 week or 2 weeks already. Like people say, oh, it's too late, right? Keep communicating frequently and regularly. Any questions so far? Oh, good. Okay. Cool. Process serves people. Find the process, find the tools that fits well for people. So that's what it means here. Rather than people try to serve the tools or serve the process. Okay. Now the question, how to be agile? So now we know that Agile is important, Agile is useful for software success. But how to be Agile? We mentioned that Agile is a philosophy. It's not a process. It's so tricky. Like, how can we actually be Agile? It actually requires a lot of real-world experience. You need to try to practice Agile, following those Agile principles, values, so that you can actually be Agile. But it sounds so vague. So today I'm going to introduce some steps that you can start with. And then you can customize that steps, like customize how it works best for you and your group, but there needs to be something that can help you start with. So here are something to start with. They are daily planning, iterations, retro, fast feedback, continuous integration, task-driven development. A lot of those will be covered in the following weeks. So we cannot cover all of them today, but we will talk about them in the next few weeks. But today I'm going to talk about a few of them. Daily planning, iterations, retro will be next week, week 5 or 6, 7 something, I can't remember. But we will talk about them one by one. Okay, so first of all, sprints. So sprints is relevant to this fast feedback and iterations. So I mentioned that our project had 3 sprints, but what it actually means. So sprint is a fixed amount of time. So normally a week, fortnightly means 2 weeks or even longer, but normally it's short, like very short. So you do not need to plan for what happens next year. You do not need to plan for that long time later. You just plan for the most nearest future, like what are you going to do next week or what are you going to do next 2 weeks. So it becomes very relevant because things may change in the future, right? But the most relevant, the most prioritized in the near future are the most important. So this is a sprint. And you set a number of tasks to be completed in the team for that sprint. So this is a sprint. And after that sprint, so another part of fast feedback is feedback within your own groups. So after that sprint, you provide feedback to each other. You do some review within the team, like how did we go this week or how did we go this sprint? Did this tool work the best for us? How was the process? Do we need to change something? Remember that Agile emphasizes flexibility, like always respond to changes, right? So this is why sprint is also important here. So you have a review, you have some retro within your group and see how did things go and what needs to be changed for next sprint, and also you can set tasks for next sprint. Time is fixed, scope is flexible, and only plan for the next sprint. Typically have a release at the end of each sprint. So at the end of each sprint, you should aim to bring some value. Right, remember that Agile emphasizes value rather than documentation. So at the end of each sprint, you should bring some value and typically bring this value through a release. But we are not doing the real release in this course, but we are doing some demo. So it's like a release. It's showing to the potential client that you are making some value in that sprint. Okay? Your question? Sorry? Are we going to test the release? Is that it? Test the code. Good question. So for sprint 1, we haven't talked about testing yet. So the way that you're demonstrating that you are bringing some value is through showing what your project can do to your project tutor. So they will act as the class. Did you bring some value? Something like that. Or what kind of value did you bring after this sprint? Okay. Yeah, any question about sprint? All good? Okay, cool. Teamwork. So Agile emphasizes a lot about people. So we'll also talk a bit about people. So people, teamwork. So teamwork is about people. So some key important parts of teamwork. So how can we be agile? How can we help those people in agile? First of all, teamwork contract. Did we say that we don't want contract? But now you're talking about contract. So this contract is more like a living document. So it doesn't mean that you can't change it when it's written down or sent off. Like it's something that you can always change. But you need to have a rule, right? So agile doesn't mean no process, no rule. There's still some rules, some process. So a contract outlines the expectations and the responsibilities of the team member. Can be changed, right? It should be a living document that can be updated as the team progresses. It should be stored in the team's repository. It should be agreed by all team members. So I have prepared a teamwork contract template for you on the course website here. You do not need to strictly follow this template. It's just for when you are feeling lost, you don't know where to start with. This is something to help you kickstart this teamwork contract, but you can have your own version. Remember that we don't like documentation or strict rules. We can be flexible, find something that is more suitable for your own group. That's the most important thing. But this is something to help you get started. Okay, so purpose of this document is to set, can you see clearly from the back? Yep. Okay, cool. So set clear expectations about how your team work together, how you communicate and how you deliver. Treat it as a living document, update it as your team learns what works. Team name, date created, this is for Sprint 1. Okay, so traditionally, each team member will have a role. Like who is the manager, who is the developer. For developer, maybe also front-end developer, back-end developer. There may be also like product owner. So this is still very popular use in industry. But for more modern agile, it emphasizes more about skills rather than roles. So people share the responsibilities. It doesn't mean that I'm a front-end developer. I do not need to take any responsibility for back-end or other things. Like we share the same goals, right? People share the responsibility. So here, I recommend, so if you prefer using roles, no problem, but my recommendation is do not use roles, but use your primary skills and additional skills. Like we share the roles. Okay, for the primary skills and additional skills, if you are not sure, you can also put something that you want to learn. So for example, you want to learn about like the customer skills, no problem, you can put that there so you can put more time on the customer skills. Or you want to put more emphasis on managing or leadership skills, no problem. So here are some recommended skills that you can use. The first one is called customer skill, like understanding user need, product management, requirement gathering, and user experience. So next week, we'll talk about requirement and customer needs. So Sprint 1 will also cover some like deliverables about the customer needs. So I recommend each group has at least one person that can focus a little bit more on this one. Yep, especially if this is some skill that you want to develop through the course. The next one is development skills. This include programming, testing, design, architecture, technical implementation. If this is something that you want to learn, practice, contribute in the group for Sprint 1, put that under your name. Coaching skills, this includes facilitation, mentoring, process improvement, team coordination. You may feel like I'm not the most smartest person in the group. Can I use these skills? No problem. So these people who are like focusing more on these skills will coordinate the team meetings, coordinate the team stand-ups, like catch up with people. It's a good opportunity to develop leadership skills. Right? It doesn't need you to be the smartest or the people who are best at coding in your group. Doesn't have to be. Okay, there may be other skills that you want to add. So here are just some recommendations for you to start with. And each sprint, you can change your like what you want to prioritize. So you can have like, I want to prioritize on customer skills for sprint 1. No problem. Sprint 2, you may want to say like, I want to focus more on development. You can do that. So all you need to do is have a discussion within your group and make sure that you have people covering all aspects. But again, people share the responsibilities. Any question about here so far? All good? Okay, cool. Online people, if you have any question, please feel free to put in the chat and I'll get back to you as soon as I see it. Okay, so talking about communication plan, the primary communication platform, you need to agree with one. Strongly recommending Microsoft Teams because this is the platform or channel that your project tutor will look after. If you use WhatsApp or Discord, like your tutor will have no access. And in case, just in case there's any conflicts happen in the later stage, like we cannot take that into consideration if it's outside of Microsoft Teams. But hopefully there's no conflict and we do not need to have a look at any communication history, but just in case. Okay, cool. We also recommend setting up some meeting schedule so that everyone can block that time slot in their calendar and make sure that everyone can attend that meeting. And I also recommend setting up a response time expectation, like within how many hours you expect a response from your team member. Recommendation, again, choose the best way for your group. What if someone can't attend a meeting? What would you do? Okay, how are you going to distribute work? What if someone can't complete their task? So something you need to think ahead of time. And also, do you need a code review process? Okay, some team grant rules, different team may have different rules. We agreed to, we will not conflict resolution. What if there's a conflict? How are you going to resolve it? Think ahead of time, okay? Plan ahead. Quality standard. We'll talk more about quality standard for sprint 2, but for now you can just put out whatever you think fit for your sprint 1 for now. If you update your contract in sprint 1, no problem. So for example, you may have a first version this week, and next Monday you feel like, oh, there's something need to be changed or added, no problem, update it. Okay, but you need a history, like when you update it, why you update it, so people are on the same page. Okay, question? All good? Any question? Okay, no worries. Where are we? Cool, so that's about the contract. So contract is teamwork contract is one of the deliverables for sprint 1. So you can start working on that in your week 1 lab. And your tutor can help you with that. Another great starting point for Agile is called stand-ups. So what is stand-up? Stand-up means frequent, often daily, short progress update meetings. Does it have to be real meetings? No. Like meetings is very time consuming and you need to make sure that everyone has time at that specific time every day. That's so hard. But it is the case in traditional software teams. People in the morning, 10 a.m., everyone sit in the meeting room and then talk about what you did yesterday and how's your progress and share things. So this is the traditional way. But nowadays, people just do it whenever they are available. It doesn't have to be at the same time. For example, I can update in the morning, like my work habit is work in the morning. I can update in my teams like 8 a.m. And then some people may have working habits, they work at late night. So they can do their update at 12 a.m. or whatever, right? So it's much more flexible. And in the STEM labs, you answer 3 questions. What did I do? What problems did I face? What am I going to do? Why is this important? Sorry? Make sure everyone's on the same page. Yes, that's one reason. Another reason? Why is this important? Why do we need to do that? And we do it every day. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. So in case everyone's facing any problem, challenges, obstacles, and make sure that people are aware of it and can help solve the problem as soon as possible. Right? Because in industry or in software groups, a lot of the times like people working on the features of things that are dependent on each other. So this is very often. So if I got stuck, someone who are waiting for my deliverable may also get stuck. And people who are working on this one may also get stuck. So any obstacles needs to be solved as soon as possible. So this is why it is important. Yep, and also the last question, what am I going to do? Making sure that other people on our team knows what they are going to do tomorrow, right? So that they can plan based on your plan. Okay, and you do not need to spend too long for these stand-ups. So maximum 15 minutes per day. So I think 2 or 3 minutes per day will be quite enough. You just need to reflect a little bit on how everything's going. Right. But for sprint 1, we will not require you to do this every day because first of all, there's not much to do in sprint 1. Like there's not much tasks or updates that you need to do. So we only ask for 2 stand-up per week. That will be enough. And there's not that much like dependencies among each other's work. So we don't ask you to do that every day. Okay. Yeah, sure. How do a manager deal with people who are not submitting anything? Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how do we address this problem? Any thoughts for people who had some group project experience? Sorry? Okay, so they got performance improvement plans. Yeah. Any other thoughts? That's very formal. Yeah. Any other ones? Git contribution? Yes. So this is something that I use for my another course. Like we check their Git contribution when marking. So Git alerts checking contribution for each one's work. But that course is more like web development or coding course. But this course, there are a lot of ways to contribute, right? Not just coding programming, but there are other ways to contribute. Yeah, that's a way. Any other thoughts? Like, what do you do? Like thinking about in your group, right? There's one group member who is not responding to things, who is not contributing anything. Is there anything that you can do? If it's not responding at all, we can just skip their part. So, talk to the tutor. Yeah, communicate. Yeah, so my recommendation is try to get in touch with them, first of all. Try to contact them through Teams message, emails. But if they are not responding 72 hours, my first thing is a little bit concerned about their safety. Like, yeah, so yeah, there are cases here happening in USW, like students are not responding in 72 hours. We are really actually concerned about their safety. I called security last term because of a student like not responding to anything for more than 72 hours. So if it happens to your group, report to your tutor. We'll double check if they are active, like making sure that they are safe. The other thing is skip their work for that period. So remember that we are a group. Like you can think of your group as a startup, right? Individual success is not success for the startup. A group success is a real success, right? Just thinking about how you can actually bring value at the end of the sprint. That's the goal, that's the focus, like how you can bring value at the end of the sprint. So that's the end goal, and you work back from that. Does that make sense? But talking with your tutor is for sure, but it's for marking purposes. Yeah, but for the group success, you think from the end value of that sprint, like how you can actually get the most from that sprint. That's the goal. Okay, for agile perspective. But for marking perspective, talk to your tutor. For safety perspective, raise to me or tutor. Okay? Any other questions so far about stand-ups? Cool. For stand-up, I also prepared a stand-up guide here. Again, this is a general guide. Find the best way for your group, okay? But we are going to do stand-ups for the rest of the week, starting from this week till the end of the term, which is week 10. And for each sprint, we'll require a different number of sprint. And sprint 1 is the easiest one, only 2 sprints, that's it. And actually, you can do one stand-up during a lab class. And you can have your tutor involved in that stand-up. So your tutor can provide feedback on how is your progress, how to solve the potential blockers, and other things. So your tutor can also be on the same page as how your group works together. Okay, so, but it's not a status report to the tutor, it's more for the team to be on the same page. It's not a long meeting. Up to 50 minutes, I feel like 2 to 3 minutes per person is plenty. Not only when convenient, it's and here's the example stand-up in Teams channel. So this example, I did put some rows after each name, but you do not need to put that. You can just put like primary skills or whatever. So this is there. You can see some examples about join, like what join did. Set up the repo, help team with Git. Today, work on user story estimation, blocker none. There's a blocker need clarification on requirement. There's a blocker stuck on merge request conflict, need help, none, and some update. And at the end, recommendation is to have action items. You notice the blockers, some people are stuck. You need actions. Otherwise, stand-up is just a document. It's not helpful. Right? So you need actions. So here are the action items. So you need one person. So normally the one who wants to develop their leadership skills or coaching skills to initiate these stand-ups. You need to allocate one person based on discussion. So who are going to initiate the stand-ups? Right? So normally it's the person who wants to work on the leadership skills. So if you want to do 3 stand-up per sprint, that's perfect. You can do a Monday one, Wednesday one, Friday one, but minimum is 2 for sprint 1. Some like questions to answer for each sprint, some ideas on how to make good quality stand-up. For example, be specific, right? So this is an example, write 2 user stories, not work on some stuff, or wrote some code. Who knows what you did, right? And what is blocking me? Saying none if nothing is blocking you. However, if you got stuck, just be transparent, right? Communicate, letting people know that you are stuck. People will help, okay? There are some really bad examples I'm going to show you. So this is a very bad one, super long. It's hard for people to read and catch up with your progress. So keep it short. very briefly. And this is another one that's really not good, like very vague. Yesterday, worked on the project. We know you are working on a project, right? Today, keep working. What are you keep working on, right? And blockers, none. So we need to be specific so people can know what you are doing and can actually help you. And there needs to be a person to post these stand-ups. Ensure everyone participate. So if some of them is not participating, reach out to them personally and letting them know, reminding them to do it. However, we can't force them to do it. Your role is just reminding them to make sure that they know there's stand-ups going on. Yeah, question?
From a grading perspective, these stand-ups are supposed to be a call, like a meeting, or like just...
You just post on the team. Yeah. So here's a template for the leadership role to post in their teams. Yeah, asynchronous. Yeah, that's a good term. Yeah, asynchronous. Yeah. But if you want to do it in a meeting, like synchronous version, no problem if you can figure out time to do it. Yep.
But this is more proof, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the tutor to see.
Meeting, we can also see like meeting minutes, recordings is also okay. Yep. So as long as you have something to show, it's okay.
You could just say the same thing. I'm working on
Yeah,
a project.
yeah, you can record that. You can have a recording for, if you do a meeting for the stand-up, record that. Yep. Yeah. Okay, all good. Have some more tips, red flags. These are for you to read after the lecture. If I read it now, it would be too boring for everyone. Any other question about stand-ups? How do the stand-up be marked? So tutors need to see stand-ups at least twice per week to see that it's happening and see everyone is contributing to stand-ups. So let me show you. Yep, so stand-up is individual marked. Okay, yeah. Any other question about stand-ups? All good? I forgot recording. Oh my goodness. The question is, when do we need to start stand-up? From this week. Yeah, other question? Anytime. Yeah, anytime. You just discuss with your team. Any other question? No. Okay, cool. So this is stand-ups. Weekly meetings. So we are not requiring any weekly meetings for sprint 1, simply because there's not much things to do for sprint 1. But starting from sprint 2, at least one weekly meeting per week. It's just a longer stand-up. Like people can do some pair coding, can have some discussions, planning, solve problems together, or anything. So these are just longer stand-ups. It's synchronous, and stand-up is asynchronous, right? Meet at least a week. You can do this during a lab session for sure, but you need to have a meeting minutes. So what is a meeting minutes? So it's the notes after your meeting. So that's meeting minutes. Right? You can do it during your tutorial. Yeah. Yes. So you can take notes about who attended that meeting, optional agenda, discussion points, actions. So you can have those in your meeting minutes. But again, be flexible. You do not need to strict following that. You can have something that fits the best for your group. Okay, so let's have a break and we will talk about task and ticket board. Come back at 7:10, 10 past 7. 5 minutes, 6 minutes break. Sorry, online. Sorry. I forgot about you. Yes, we have started. So just repeat what we are talking about. So we are talking about how to add issues. So issues is a way of organizing tasks. So you can go to your group projects, click on plan, and here's other issues. So here I have one issue, and you can add another one by clicking on new item, give it a title. I can say feature adding tasks. And you can give it a description. For example, you can say a task leak, research on Flask. And you can do backend for adding tasks and front end. But you can. But my recommendation is not putting everything here. That will be a very big issue. So I'm just doing some lists here. But my recommendation is having multiple issues. Like maybe one issue for one of them, like one issue for research on Flask, one issue on backend for adding tasks. So it's more easier. It's easier to track, and then you can create this issue. Okay, and you can see this issue board here. You can have open, closed. You can move things around. You can drag. Yep. So this is the issue board. So you can start working on this from this week. In your next meeting, so you can start like, I want to work on, for example, development skills. So I'm going to assign some issues for myself on this one. And you may have assigned other people to review it. You can say, oh, please review it when I finish doing this feature or whatever.
So this works like a Jira.
It's like Jira board, but the easier one, simpler one. Yeah. So the question is like a Jira board? Yes, it's like a Jira board or Kanban board, or like there are a lot of different versions for this. But the reason that we are using the GitLab issue board is because it's integrated with GitLab. You do not need to go to another platform yet. So GitLab is plenty enough for this purpose. Sorry, I'll keep track of online. Okay. Cool, so this is issue board. So you may notice that under each issue, there's a number. This is the issue number. How can you use this issue number? You can actually use it in your commit messages. When you commit a message or when you merge a feature branch to your main branch, you can say close number 2. And number 2 will be automatically closed. So this is how you can use Git together with issue board. Okay, so when you commit something, when you merge a feature branch, people know which issue this is about. Okay, cool. I'm not sure if I have time to demo that, but it's pretty straightforward. You can also find some instructions on the slides. It looks like this. So when you write your commit message, add one line about close, -1 or -2. It means that close issue 1 or issue 2, and it will automatically close on GitLab. Okay, so issues represent the work, commits represent the implementation, and merge requests represent the review and integration. So everything comes together now. All right, so everyone's connected and linked with each other. Pair programming. So this is not required in the course as well, but if your goal one of your goals for this course is to learn programming or coding, what you can do is you can do pair programming with someone in your group. How it works is 2 programmers, 1 computer, and 1 keyboard, and they take turns to write code, but discuss as they go. It's called peer programming. It's for learning purposes. If this is your goal, you can use this methodology. Handling conflicts. So people are messy, right? So everywhere, like not just student groups, but everywhere when there's people, there's something messy. So the most important thing you can do in a group work situation is constantly communicate with your team members and tutor. So communication, 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 communication. So I found like communication can solve the majority of the conflicts. And I once found on Reddit a student post that in my group project, I haven't heard from or haven't communicated with my group member for 3 weeks. I was like, what? Like, even if no progress, even if you are stuck, or for whatever reason, you need to communicate, right? Like, other people will know how you are going. Yeah, so communicate. Okay, so here are some situations that I want you to think ahead of time. The first one, I know more than my group members. What if this is your case? What would you do? Yes, take a break. Or learn something different, develop some other skills, right? In this course, in this group project, there are a lot of skills that you can develop. Choose something that you want to learn, and you can spend your time, right? Or work on other assignments. Yep. What if my group members aren't doing enough? So this is related to the question that was asked earlier, like what if my team member is not contributing? Communicate. Try to communicate with them, right? If nothing works, talk with your tutor. Okay? But just keep communicating. It doesn't mean that they do not respond for once, they may respond the second time, right? My group members have just disappeared. Oh my goodness. Message your disappeared group members, asking them where they are, making sure that they are safe. If no response from them for more than 72 hours, report. Right? I will need to contact them. My group members are merging in broken code. They are not like assigning anyone to review their code, but they merge directly into main. What should I do? Revert. What else? Ask them. Yeah, why did you do that, right? Maybe they didn't realize that. Maybe that's the case. They need help, but they are just too shy, or they don't want to feel like idiot, so they are not asking. But no one's idiot. Just ask for help, right? So message them and politely asking them to stop doing that. If they don't respond positively, or you can email your tutor. But just checking in with them and making sure that they know what they are doing. Maybe they are just don't know how Git works. They accidentally merged in something. Or what if my group members are being rude? What would you do? Tutor, yeah. What else? Politely ask them to stop doing that. If they don't respond positively or change, email your tutor. Yep. And if you are noticing any trend, like they are not changing their behavior, message your tutor. Or change your own plan, right? Be flexible. Like the end goal is the value of your project, right? So that's the end goal. Okay, so here are everything about the Agile software team practices. So we are going to use what we learned today from this week till the end of the term, till week 10. So everything, standard, blah, 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 issue, blah, 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 blah. So everything, okay? Cool. Okay. So the plan, any questions about this lecture? Okay, so the plan was to talk about the sprint 1. I won't be able to finish everything in this lecture. So I will continue talking about doing demos, explaining the code and stuff in our next lecture. Okay, so have anyone read this guideline? Yeah. Okay, so can anyone tell me what the project is about? Task tracker, task force. Yeah, what else? No? Okay, I thought you raised your hand. All good. So yes, this is a task board. So this is what we are going to do in this project. And for now, I only released the Sprint 1 guideline. The reason is because I don't want you to overwhelm you with too much information that you haven't learned yet. But I think this is a very useful part of the Sprint 1 guideline. So I break it down for like week by week. So you have a weekly planner. So as long as you are on track for this weekly planner, you have no problem. Okay, you'll be all good. So if you feel like you fall behind a little bit, no worries at all. We are still just in week 2. We just started week 2 actually. We only have 1 week left. So catch up with week 1 content and then get started with the week 2 things. And if you can't finish everything for week 2, you do not need to worry or like stress too much yet. You still have week 3 because Sprint 1 is due on week 4 Monday. So there's no weekly deliverable. So we will not ask you to demonstrate what do you do in week 2. Have you finished everything for week 2? We will not do that. So you have some flexibility. So Sprint 1 is due on week 4 Monday. So if you fall behind a little bit, no worries. Just try to keep up to date. Keep on track. Okay. So this week's task is actually a mix of easy and challenging tasks. The easy ones are group contract, add tasks on issue board, and stand-ups. So these are like easy marks, super, super easy. As long as you follow the practices, the process, you do the things, you get the marks, very easy. But this one is challenging. So add new features to start a code. Like following Git practice is not challenging, but this part is the challenging one, especially for those who do not have any front-end and back-end development experience. If you don't know worries at all, you do not need to stress, again, not need to stress. So you can have a look at the marking criteria for Sprint 1. You will notice that the feature demo, which is about the add and delete stuff, so adding new features, it only takes 5 marks out of 30 marks. So these are the challenging marks. You can still get good marks from other parts. For example, Git merge request, user story we will talk about next week, issue board, sprint retro, and your individual marks. So if you cannot get full marks for features, you do not need to stress too much. You still can get a good marks. Okay? So this is, I want to make sure that you are not stressed because I know this can be challenging for people with no front and back end development experience. So what you can do is you can use the time during Sprint 1 to catch up with some front and back end development things. Like this is not the focus of the course, like web development is not what we want to teach in this course. However, I know there are people who enrolled in this course have no prior experience in that. So I will teach a bit every week. So every week, I will teach a little bit about front and back end development. But some self-learning is still required if you have no prior experience, but no stress. It doesn't mean that you have no prior experience in that you cannot get a good marks. You can still get a good marks. This is what I want to emphasize. Okay, so this week's task had some challenging ones. If you cannot finish this task, you can continue working on that next week. Remember that Sprint 1 is due in week 4 Mondays, not due at the end of this week. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the task for Sprint 1. Next week, we'll talk about user stories and sprint retro. So you do not need to worry about that yet. So what we have learned for Sprint 1, including the Git practice, important, very, very important. So if you haven't mastered it yet, have a look at that, the first week content. So everything you do, everything you pushed to your GitLab repo needs to follow those Git practice, like, for example, merge requires, commit message, everything. So I'll not repeat that again, but I'll try to do the demo again if we have time. Okay, so participation and stand-ups. So this is an important one. So I think I put, so 2 stand-ups per week during week 2 to 3 is required. We are only talking about sprint 1. Okay, so we'll talk more about sprint 2 later. And during a lab class in week 2 to 3, you and your team will conduct one short stand-up in presence of your tutor. So this is to make your life easier. So you can do 1 stand-up during a lab session, and you only have 1 more to do in another day of the week. So this is to make your life easier. Each member of the team will briefly state what they have done in the past week, or past day, or past few days, what they intended to do during the next week or next couple of days, what issues they have faced and currently facing. You can use the stand-up guide from here, at the corner here. Yep, so your tutors may also make notes of your presence and ask you to elaborate on the work you have done. They may ask you questions like why you are doing what you are doing, something like that. So they just want to make sure that you know what you are doing, okay? Because the course is, like, the first sprint is the easiest part. Like, the marks are easiest to get for sprint 1. Sprint 2, a little bit more challenging, and sprint 3 is the most challenging part. So you need to build a solid foundation in sprint 1. So your tutor will be there to make sure that you are building a solid foundation. Okay, and project check-ins or those stand-ups during the lab sessions are excellent opportunities for your tutor to provide you with both technical and non-technical guidance. So for non-technical guidance, they may include like teamwork contract, issue board, group, blah, 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 anything. Right, so any question, any concern, raise with your tutor as early as possible. Can you see clearly from the back? Sorry, I forgot to ask. Do you need me to make it larger? Yes? Okay. Next time, feel free to raise your hand, okay? Yep. Cool. Another task you need to do for iteration 1 is the teamwork contract. So template is provided here through this link on the course website. Another thing about teamwork is at the end of each iteration, we are going to do a teamwork evaluation. So this teamwork evaluation is not for marking. It's for, 1, the tutor know how your groups are going. 2, help your group to reflect and plan for the next sprint. Okay, so try to make sure that you are following this. So for example, you are participating. Your team members will review your participation at the end of that sprint. Okay, make sure that you are being dependable. Like when people need your help, need your delivery, need your something, you are being dependent. Team well-being, so you are not being rude, okay? You are trying to communicate, or you are helping with other people, listening to concerns, providing feedback. So these are about team well-being and work contribution, like how much work you have contributed. So this is about the teamwork evaluation. Next week, we'll talk about planning. Okay, question?
About that practice, we will doing that practice on the labeling course or in this lecture.
Which practice did you mean?
The
Git practice?
yeah.
Like by practice, I'm not mean the exercise, the activity, but the how you do Git. So that is what I mean. So here's a link. You can click on that and you can see it. It shows you what makes good commit messages, some examples, and how to make good merge requests. So I have talked about this in last week's lecture, so there's nothing new. This is just to summarize what I mentioned in last week's lecture.
So I should do this practice after class by myself?
You can read it whenever you are free, but these are actually already covered in last week's lecture. Yep. Cool. Alrighty. In terms of marking rubrics, this is for anyone who is interested in knowing the rubrics, but the important thing is some group marks and some individual marks. And submission deadline for sprint 1 is week 4, Monday, 12 p.m. To submit your work, simply push everything to GitLab main branch. That is how we submit. There are some edge cases, for example, stand-ups. So stand-ups happens on your team's channel. So you do not need to push that again to your GitLab repo. Your tutor already have access to that. Other things, you push that to your main branch, including teamwork contract. For your teamwork contract, what you can do is, for example, this is my starter code. What you can do is you can add a new file called teamwork.md. So md means markdown file. So you may notice that README file. So this README file is also markdown file. So markdown file is very easy to read. So let me show you how it works. So this is, you can see that README file is a markdown file, and it's very easy to read. It has some structure, some formats that you do not need to spend a lot of time doing the formatting and stuff. So MD file is very useful when you want to push some documents to GitLab repo, GitHub, or like this for software projects. It's very, very useful. So, but this is optional. This is for when you wanted to learn MD file. But if you don't want to use MD file, you can also push a PDF file. You can drag a PDF file here and then push that file to your main branch. It's also a way of submitting the teamwork contract. But the benefits of using MD file is you can track changes. It's like how you added like other text file or whatever. So when you make a change to the MD file, you can add that MD file, commit a message, and specifying what has been changed in this MD file. But for PDF, you can't do that, right? You can just upload another new file. Like MD file is much more useful. I strongly recommend using that. But you will not lose marks if you're using PDF or other documents. But this will be easier for you at a later stage. When you want to update it, you want to make some changes to it, when you move on to Sprint 2, it will be easier for you. Okay. Yep, so this is about how we submit. The way we submit is push everything to main. It's equivalent to submitting. So when marking, we take the most recent submission on your main branch that is prior to the deadline. So tutors will not take commits pushed to main after the deadline. So everything you pushed before the deadline will be taken into consideration. But recommendation is do not wait till the last minute to push to the remote repo. The reason is because for our course, it's actually okay, not too big. The course that I taught before is a very large course, and we have like more than 1,000 students per term. And every time before the deadline, everyone's pushing, everyone's committing. So the server becomes really, really slow. But for our course, it should be okay. Yep, so there's no late submission for Sprint 1. If you have special consideration approved, still no late submission, so deadline is deadline. The reason is because if we extend your Sprint 1 deadline, that time actually eat into your Sprint 2 time. Because Sprint 2 will start straight directly after Sprint 1 deadline. So if we extend your Sprint 1 deadline, you will have shorter time for Sprint 2. Right? So if you have any approved special consideration, we'll take that into consideration when marking. That's it, but no extension. No extension. In terms of your demonstration for Sprint 1 work, you are going to demonstrate during your week 4 lab session to your tutor. So attending week 4 lab in person is compulsory. Missing that demonstration will make you have 0 mark for that sprint, unless you have approved the special consideration. The reason for that is we want to make sure that your work is your work. So a demonstration is very helpful for marking purpose. So we know you understand what you are doing, and you actually did your own work. Right, so if you do not attend a demo, how could we know that? So this is the reason why we say it is compulsory. Okay, and it's also a great opportunity to provide feedback, like our tutor can provide feedback, making sure everyone's there, providing feedback so you can plan ahead for your next sprint. Okay? You do not need to plan any presentation for Sprint 1 demo. It's not the formal presentation. It's just a very informal demo. You just show your tutor what your project, what kind of value does your project bring to the client, the customer, the user, and how you got to that value. Like what kind of effort did you make, and why are you doing what you're doing? That's it. It's informal. You do not need to prepare any formal presentation. Okay, about plagiarism and academic misconduct, I think these are just very normal things, nothing special. Only one thing is that if you are using AI to support your project for some research purposes or whatever, you need to formally acknowledge that. You need to acknowledge, well, this part of the code is supported by blah, in which way. Right, but even if you got support from Gen AI tools, you still need to be able to explain your code. Your tutor may ask you a question like, can you make some changes to this piece of code? They will see whether you can make changes to your own code. And they will ask questions like, why you had this line here? You need to be able to explain it. Yeah, they may give you some tasks during your demo session. Like change this to that, change this, or add a new role, add a new feature. Can you do that? Okay, if you can't, you may get plagiarism. Means that you don't know your own work, and you'll get a 0 mark for that sprint. Okay. Cool. Okay. So this is about the guideline. Now let's have a look at the starter code. So I have got my starter code here. Have anyone got a chance to look at the starter code? Yeah. How do you feel about the starter code? It's neat. Thanks. What else? Here. So in the README file for the starter code, I have provided some guidance to understand the code, especially for those who have no prior experience about web development. So the structure of this project, so you can see that there's one major file, which is called app.py. So this is a Python file. So this Python file is the back end of your web application. And the things in these templates is now we only have index.html, is the front end of your web application. So what are they? What is back end? What is front end? And how does the things work together? So actually what we are doing here is we are having something called web server. What is a web server? Sorry, too many terminologies. I will explain. So when you write some Python code, right, you have some functions. Those functions can do some actions for you, right? You give it an input, it gives you an output. So this is a function. But when users use software or web applications, how do they call those functions? Right? How can the users tell your code to do something? You need an interface, right? It's like you have a restaurant, right? In your restaurant, you have a lot of cookware. You have this pan, that oven, a lot of tools in your kitchen. But how can your tools in your kitchen make food for the customer? There needs to be something in the middle, right? Can take the order. So the customer say, well, can I have a pizza, please? And then go to the kitchen, or tell someone use the tools in the kitchen to make the pizza and then deliver it back to the customers. So the restaurant is actually like the server that do all of this service. So your functions are like the tools in the kitchen. And the user who use your web application is like the customers going to the restaurant and order something. And then use the tools, use the functions to make the pizza, and then coming back with something, with a pizza or whatever. So this is a server. Server is like a restaurant, and you have some tools, functions in your restaurants. So we now need to make a restaurant using those functions. Okay, so let me give you another example. So for example here, I have the lecture slides. It also has a server, right? You can see it's on a browser, so my slides are on a browser. But how do my browser knows which page to show me? I send them a request. URLs, correct. So I send this server my request through URL. With this URL, my server knows like this is the slides that I need to show to my client, my user. And if I change this URL, change from 2 to 1 here, it shows a different page. It responds with something different. So this is one way to send requests. There are other ways. For example, let's go to our course website, right? I can click on a button. The page changed. So this is another way to send a request and get something. It's by clicking a button. There are also other ways to send a request. For example, let me go to our forum. Our forum is on Discord. This one. So here's a forum. Let me find the welcome one. Where's the welcome one? Yep, this one. So what I can do is I can click on this one. So I click on the like button. It changed the color. I send a request. I got something back. Right? I can also respond to something. I can say, hello, Sinan. I reply. It changed. It responded with something. Right? So this is what the server does. A client, a user, make a request through one of these ways. And then the web server go to the back end and return something different to the front end. So front end is actually what we can see here. So this is what we can see, is the front end. But what changed the front end is actually happened at the back end. A lot of the time it's through the back end. So for example, this one is like back end has changed. The database changed. The data on this web server, on this website has changed. Now has a new post in their database. It happens at the back end. But for this one, it only changes the front end. This one. There's nothing changing at the back end. When I go back to that page again, it's still the same. So nothing's changed at the back end. Only I changed which page to display. I only switched which front end to show. Any questions so far? You can think about the web application or the server as a kitchen. And there's something cooking at the back. And it shows you with something. You send a request, you get a response. It's like a bigger function, which has a lot of function in it. Yeah, question?
Whether we can use a different language for our program, or we must use the Python and the HTML for the program.
Yeah, the question is, can we use other programming language, not Python, and not using HTML for the front end? Unfortunately, we ask everyone to use Python and HTML. The reason is that this is the only support that we can provide through the course. And also, I know some of you have programming background, maybe JavaScript and others in the past. However, team members may not have. Like, we want to make sure that everyone on the team can contribute, not just one person. Even though there may be 1 or 2% experts in JavaScript or whatever, we want everyone to be able to contribute if they want to contribute. Yep. Cool. Okay, so this is the front end, back end, and server. So let's go back to here. So this app.py, so this Python file is the backend, which starts the server and the getting requests and sending requests. So the reason that we can see, oh, you are not seeing this one yet. So what you can see is everything about here, right? So I added something. So the reason that you are seeing that was because the URL that I'm currently sending is this one. It's just the backdash. But if I change it to info, it will be not found because there's no URL, there's no route defined for this one anymore. But if I add info here, it will show again. So so what we are doing here is we are defining, like, given a request, like given this URL, respond with this one. So this is the core of the backend, but there are other parts. Like, if we have time, we can explain them. Oh, well, we don't have time. We only have 5 minutes left. But this is the most important part of backend. It defines, like, given a request, I'm responding something. And similarly, you can add other things. For example, you can add another rows. You can say about, and you can return something different. You can have another HTML. You can say about.html, but you need to change this name as well. And then you can add another HTML called about.html. And then when you backdash about rather than info, you'll see another page. So this is how you get the request, send a response. Okay, so this is the most important thing about this starter code, but there are other things as well. I'll delete this part for now. So this is the backend, and this index.html is the front-end page for that route. So that index.html. You can add more HTML files for more, like, different pages. You can have about.html, you can have contact.html, and when you use, like, send requests to respond with those pages will be responded. And in your HTML file, there are a few important things. So at the beginning, all of these are about styling. So you can personalize the styling for your own project, but we do not, it's not like if you have super, super fancy website, but not functioning well, so it's not worthwhile. So the main focus is bring value to the customer. Remember that. So that's the core goal for the project. So you do not need to aim for fancy things or, like, fancy features, front end, or colors, pictures, emojis, or whatever. So value, thinking about the value. So what are the things that the user care the most about? Okay. But anyway, here is where you are defining the style. For example, font size, color. You can change the color. For example, if you don't like color, you can change to blue for the hiding, and when you refresh, it's not changing. Did I change properly? Oh, sorry. Is this the right one? Info. Oh, yeah. See, I changed the color of the background. So you can play with it. At the front end, you can also change the text. So now it shows welcome to task tracker. You can say, you can change to my super task tracker. And then when you refresh this page, the text can also be changed. I only have 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is about the front end. What else can I do? So in the backend, what you can also do is you can also have some Python list. So for example, for our project, we need to have a list of tasks. So what you can do is you can also have tasks. You can define a task, and then it's a list, and then you can have multiple tasks. For example, one task is task 1, blah, 然后 then task 2, blah, and then you can return task in the front end through sending, for example, blah blah blah. You can send the data from back end to front end. I'll leave this for you to do a little bit of research after the lecture. But remembering that when you are adding a feature or you change something, remember to check out to a new branch first. Do not make changes on main branch directly. Like the main branch should always be safe. If you want to play with it, you want to change something, add a feature, check out to a new branch, make changes. And then when you merge to main branch, ask another team member to review that merge request for you before actually merge that in, to make sure that your main branch is always safe. Do not merge in broken code. Okay, cool. Have a look at the starter code later after the lecture. If you still struggle with the featured thing, no worries. I'll talk a little bit more about this every lecture. So every lecture, at the tail of every lecture, I'll talk a little bit more about WebDriver. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you online. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have issues.
Sorry, I'll just type by. Okay. Sorry, I'll stop streaming. Otherwise, everyone can see.